is the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs. Previously, he served as the Chief of Staff to the Undersecretary for Economic Growth, Energy and the Environment, and the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs, responsible for China, Mongolia, and Taiwan. Before that, he was the Director for Bilateral and Regional Affairs in the State Department's Office of International Communications and Information Policy. Prior to that, he was posted at the U.S. Embassy in Beijing, where he served alternately as Minister Counselor for Economic Affairs, Chief of Staff, Acting Deputy Chief of Mission, and Chargé d'Affaires. From 2010 to 2014, Jonathan headed the economic sections of our embassies in Canberra and Kabul. Before that, he worked on trade, investment, and IPR issues at our posts in Beijing, Mexico City, and Hong Kong. Jonathan also served in Washington on the staff of the Deputy Secretary of State, as a trade negotiator in the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative, and as a desk officer in the State Department's Office of Chinese and Mongolian Affairs. Jonathan began his foreign service career with consular tours in China and Ecuador. He spent 2 years at the U.S. Air Force Academy before transferring to Stanford University, where he graduated with a BA and an MA in East Asian Studies. I think you can see he has a lot of experience and knowledge that he's eager to share with you today. Like I said, thank you so much for coming, and I encourage you, while you listen to our Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary, start thinking of some questions.
However, this is the first time I've had the opportunity to visit Papua New Guinea. I've spent, I guess, about 4 days here, and I must say I've been really impressed by the natural beauty of the country. And also by the very visible excitement around the upcoming celebration of your 50th anniversary of independence. I'm sorry I'm not going to be here for what I'm sure is going to be just a huge celebration for every member of the community here. Also going to be a very big diplomatic event, and part of the reason I'm here is to pave the way for even more senior officials from Washington, D.C., who will be joining guests from around the world to help you celebrate this historic milestone. Our number 2 at the State Department, our Deputy Secretary of State, and the commander of all of our armed forces in the Indo-Pacific will be here to help celebrate this very, very joyous occasion in your history. I would like to elaborate a little bit on what Sarah talked about in terms of my current position. As she pointed out, I've been in the State Department as a Foreign Service Officer for over 3 decades now, with a number of tours, if not here in PNG, but in neighboring countries, China and Australia amongst them. But now I'm back in headquarters, back in Washington, D.C., and the way the State Department is organized, I think we have a total of about 20 bureaus that kind of make up more or less the main functional units of the State Department. But the bureaus that are the most important in terms of our policy making are the 6 regional bureaus. We divide the whole globe up into sort of 6 chunks. And I'm the number 2 guy in the chunk that covers East Asia and the Pacific. And that is our bureau, the Bureau of East Asian and Pacific Affairs, is unique because it covers the biggest portion of the surface of the planet. It also covers the largest chunk of the world's population, and also the largest chunk of the world's economy. So the U.S. has very, very strong interests in this part of the world. I would say primarily that's because, like Papua New Guinea, we too are a Pacific country. We have 4 states, Alaska, Washington, Oregon, and of course California, that border the Pacific. And we have another state and a number of territories, Hawaii, Guam, places like that, that are actually in the Pacific. So, this is we are part of the same community. And of course, the Pacific, rather than being a barrier between the Americas and Asia, we see it as a bridge between the Americas and Asia, and of course the island countries in the Pacific. Huge amount of trade and investment to go both ways. The United States, most of our top trading partners are in this part of the world. Also, a a lot of investment that goes back and forth both ways. It was 2 days ago, I had an opportunity to go out and see the ExxonMobil LNG facility here in Port Moresby, which was very, very impressive. Another thing that I think is reflective of U.S. interests in this region, our shared democratic values, and also our shared history, going back many, many decades of shared sacrifice and shared commitment to maintaining sovereignty and independence of the nations in this region. I took a visit yesterday to Bamana Cemetery, and that was a very clear manifestation. Got to see the final resting place of many Papua New Guinean, Australian, and New Zealand soldiers and airmen who fought and died side by side with American soldiers and airmen. I already mentioned this, prosperity. Given the huge markets, huge populations in the Asia-Pacific region, it's very important for us that American companies are engaged here. Like I said, I was very impressed with my visit to the ExxonMobil LNG facility here, which I know is generates quite a lot of value and tax revenue for the PNG government, and we are always looking for more opportunities for U.S. companies to be involved here. And then again, as I mentioned, democratic governance is another area where I think we have very, very strong shared interests with Papua New Guinea, and I know that's something that is part of what you will be celebrating here in just a few short days during the 50th anniversary of your independence. I wanted to reflect just briefly on some ways in which we manifest the importance of Papua New Guinea to the United States, and of course, we have frequent visits by visitors like myself, like Admiral Paparo from Honolulu, and our Deputy Secretary who will be here, like I said, in just a few short days. But I think the most sort of concrete and enduring manifestation of our commitment to this relationship is, in fact, our embassy. And Ambassador Yastashak and her deputy, Alex Berenberg, and Sarah, and all of the team at the embassy, unlike visitors like us who pop in for a few days and then go back to Washington, D.C., many time zones away, they're here day in and day out working with the government of Papua New Guinea, working with businesses, working with academic institutions like the university here to build up those ties. And I would like to kind of end my remarks by thanking the University of Papua New Guinea for being such a good partner to the embassy, arranging events like this one and the many others that I know take place, and with your new Vice Chancellor here, working with our team at the embassy, look forward to even closer collaboration going forward. And just let me finish by trying to use some local language. I'm sure I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Thank you, true. And I look forward to your questions and comments. Thank you very much. Luckily, Sarah is the expert on exchange programs at the U.S. Embassy, and so I'm going to defer to her for some details. But at the high level, I certainly recognize how beneficial to U.S. foreign policy these exchange programs over the years have been, establishing these sorts of ties between whether it's Papua New Guinea or any of our other friends around the world. Having folks come to our universities, sending Americans to spend time in universities abroad has been one of the sort of real effective ways of building these people-to-people ties. But with specific regard to the programs here at Papua New Guinea, I'm going to ask Sarah to maybe take a whack at that one.
Thank you for that question, and I agree these exchanges are important, significant to our bilateral relationship, and life-changing. I myself was a Fulbright Fellow. It changed my life, and it's why I'm here in this job today. I can also say that from the embassy perspective, we look at these exchanges not as just a one-off experience, but a relationship. And your alumni here in Papua New Guinea that have gone through these fellowships or scholarships continue to be our main POCs when they return from the U.S. and act as leaders in government, in education, and in their community. We continually call on you as alumni to take part in our programs and be key strategic components of our foreign policy. I also want to say that Fulbright isn't our only fellowship or scholarship that we offer. I strongly encourage you to follow us on our social media accounts, principally Facebook, and also take a look at our website. where we're daily updating our opportunities that open. We offer Fulbright student and professional scholarships. We also offer Fulbright fellowships for teachers. And one of our other big programs that you can apply for after you graduate is something called the International Visitor Leadership Program, or the IVLP. It's when we send young professionals to the United States for 3 weeks to take part in an exchange in a different field of study. For example, we have some IVLP fellows leaving soon to take part in a 3-week field study in ICT and cybersecurity. So we offer that in many different fields. Another thing you could look at is the Professional Fellows Program, or the Global U Graduate Program, or the Ambassador Study for summer work and travel. We have many, many opportunities that I think you'll be able to find relevant or appropriate for your field of study or your situation in life. And like I said, I could talk all morning about them actually, but I'm going to refer you to our website for more information on that. One final note that we were very, very excited to be able to get funding this year to celebrate your 50th anniversary of independence, but also our 50 years relationship between U.S. PNG bilateral ties. And we have a new bespoke, tailor-made IVLP program just for Papua New Guinea to travel to the U.S. called Youth in Foreign Policy, Youth in the Political Process. So we're sending 5 Papua New Guineans in October to the United States for 3 weeks to represent Papua New Guinea in youth in the political process to highlight the 50th anniversary. So we're really excited to share that and hear their stories when they come back.